Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be running through my team selection ahead of Matchday 4 Champions League Fantasy. Of course, we're going to take a look at the projected data for the upcoming game weeks and run through how my team got on in game week 3. As you can see on screen right now is my team from game week 3. It was a very, very good week for us. Unfortunately, we couldn't nail down the correct captain choice. We went with Yamal on the first day, didn't quite hit the mustard. Then Elise just really didn't deliver, did he? It was a really poor game from him, to be honest. So only came away with 6 points from our captain. That was probably the most disappointing thing about the week in general. However, the rest of the team and the wildcard for me did exceptionally well. There's one or two iffy picks in there. However, we are going to rectify that with our transfers over the next few weeks. Hopefully, anyway. But as like I said, overall, the team, very, very happy with. Pentaker FC, as pretty much everybody calls me now on Twitter, did exceptionally well for this week as well, of course. Having players like Cananoglu, the Dortmund centre-back as well, who takes penalties. These are the players that you just need to have within the game, all right? These are going to be the guys that, of course, unlock that next level. Hein as well from Atalanta is an absolute ball recovery beast. So if you are in the market for a cheap defender this week, he is only 4.4 million. Now, I'd highly recommend him. Of course, our punt as well that we went for on the deadline stream in Marcus Rashford with a 13-pointer was also very, very juicy. So I'm pretty happy about that as a pick. And fair play if you went for him over Yamal on as the captain for match day 1. So like I said, very good position. We're into the top 10k now. We're ranked 9,600, I think it is. Hopefully we can continue that and can continue the climb up as well. And of course, look through some of the plans that are going to get us there. Like I said, before we dive into the projected data, if of course you do enjoy the Champions League content and want to see more of it on the channel, let me know in the comment section. Make sure you're liking the video as well so I know to keep producing it. And of course, if you are new to the channel as well and want to see more, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button as well. Let's dive in then to the projected data. This is going to come from our very good friend FPL Shannon. Make sure you go and follow this guy over on Twitter. I'll leave a link to his Patreon in the description as well if you want to sign up for it as well. It has all the projected data, as you can see, like this. It also has a really, really good player points projection models as well with adjustable minutes as well. So, of course, you can kind of, filter it to your needs and desires. So, it's a very, very good model. So, as you can see, obviously, he hasn't updated for Matchday 4 and beyond, but I imagine the numbers are going to be very, very similar. So, let's take a look at some of the best defenses then over the next set of game weeks. Obviously, Arsenal, we all know if you play FPL and watch any Premier League football, they are on a ridiculous run at the moment in terms of their defensive numbers and keeping teams out as well. They have the best XG conceded in the Premier League. You're looking at the numbers that they've got projected here. I think an Arsenal defender for most people's teams should be an absolute lock. Like I said, because just how good they are defensively at the moment. Napoli have a really nice run, and that's why I went with quite a few Napoli players on my wildcard. Obviously, we went with KDB, who's now picked up an injury, and we're going to have to look at that. And I also picked up the cheap 4 million goalkeeper as well. So, Napoli seemed like a nice, easy kind of, defence you could invest in with some pretty decent projections over the next few weeks, in my personal opinion. We're seeing Bayern Munich, obviously their good run come to an end. 2 difficult fixtures now, Matchday 4 and Matchday 5. So if you did go for any of their defenders, it could be a period where, of course, you could look to get them out, whether that be on a limitless wildcard, and then maybe once their fixtures pick up again in Matchday 6, probably pick them up back during that period. Barca as well, they've got a good week in Matchday 4. A difficult game in game week 5. I know that's where a lot of people are, of course, looking at the limitless anyway. And then Matchday 6, 7 and 8, some also pretty decent projections across that period. In terms of standout teams, probably just for this single game week then, obviously Arsenal 0.52, same with Chelsea. Inter with the big one of 0.68. So if you've got Denzel Dumfries, or of course if you are on a limitless this week, he of course would be one of the first names that I would be looking at on my team sheet as well. Villarreal, Atletico Madrid also with some pretty steady projections heading into this week for clean sheets as well. And Newcastle, for me, could be maybe where you could find some potential little cheap hidden gems as well. 0.49 for their projected clean sheets for match day 4. Let's move on then. Let's take a look at the projected goals for the next 4 to game week 8. I was going to say how many weeks that is and then just remembered it's 5. There we go. Looking at the numbers, then we can see some good numbers coming up for Barcelona. Matchday 4, their key one. So if you're on that Limitless 5 strategy, picking up any Barcelona players in 4 and then obviously Limitlessing them out in Matchday 5 seems like a pretty good strategy. I'm waiting to see if Rafinha, of course, plays in the game later today. I'm filming this on Sunday afternoon. If he plays in the game against Elche, then he definitely does become an option for a lot of people's sides. However, we are going to, of course, just have to wait and see on that. Liverpool still have some pretty good numbers and need to, of course, continue to, actually perform, to be honest, like a club at the moment. Maybe Mohamed Salah potentially re-enters our thoughts. Obviously, he has been benched in the past 2 match days. However, is regaining his form. He scored in back-to-back Premier League games. His numbers are definitely projecting in the right trend. So might be an option that, of course, I do look at in terms of my KDH replacement as well. Obviously, the Bayern Munich fixtures, like I said, do get a little bit more tricky over the next few weeks. So I think if you've got Kane, you've got Elise, they probably would be players that I would start to maybe look to move out of my side, in my personal opinion, and maybe look to pick them back up in Matchday 6 and beyond. Especially if, Rafinha is available, you want your Mao. Maybe Salah, obviously, could be potentially starting with some good projected goal numbers coming up here as well. Those could be sides that you maybe want to look at over the next few weeks as well. In terms of another side as well, that is definitely one that I'm going to probably be monitoring over the next few weeks, it is PSG. Now, they've got a lot of injuries at the moment, and their Ligue 1 form is a little bit hit and miss, to be honest. A draw midweek and then a 1-0 94th minute winner at the weekend as well. They are a little bit kind of, edgy at the moment, but they do have some okayish projected goal numbers for, some upcoming game weeks. So the likes of Dembele, Kvaratskhelia definitely could sort of enter our thought processes as well. I'm absolutely gutted that, of course, Napoli and my Kevin De Bruyne pick has got injured, with, of course, the next 2 weeks of projected goals looking pretty decent, but maybe we'll look at Scott McTominay as a potential replacement or other clubs as well. In terms of the standout picks for Matchday 4, then, if you are on a Limitless 4 this week, obviously Barcelona with good numbers. The big standout this week is, of course, going to be Inter up against the Kazakhstani side. So there, of course, Çalhanoğlu, Martinez, Denzel Dumfries. There's going to be plenty of options to go for there in terms of pick. Tottenham as well with 2.2 projected goals. Maybe flying a little bit under the radar. Maybe somebody like Kudus could also be a pretty steady shout as well. Monaco look like a team I also want to invest in for the next few weeks. They've got some pretty steady fixtures coming up, and they've actually got some pretty tidy players as well from a defensive and attacking perspective. So definitely seem like a club I might want to invest in over the next few weeks. Like I said, that is the data from FPL Shadden. If you want to go and check it out for yourself, I will leave a link to his Discord in the description. But let's go and take a look at how my team is lining up for Matchday 4, and of course run through any of my transfer plans. Okay, rather than running through the entire team itself, I thought I would just kind of, identify the players that I am looking to, of course, bring in and take out. So there are obviously, KDH, I'm getting confused with FPL. Kevin De Bruyne is one of the players that we are going to have to look to remove. It looks like it is a long-term injury for him, which is a real shame. So, of course, we aren't going to get the Napoli fixtures. The other problem player is the 4.5 million guy within my side. He's completely gone missing from Union Saint-Gilloise sides. I don't know what's happened to him. I can't see any reports of an injury. So if there are any Union fans in the comments, let me know what has happened to this guy. It looked like he was playing, fairly inconsistent minutes, but at least starting some games. For 4.5, I didn't mind that. With him not even being in squads, I'm a little bit worried what has happened to this guy, so please do let me know. So option 1 here would be to drop Rafinha down, bring in Rafinha, sorry. If we did want to go for him, if he is fit and available and plays a little bit later today. And then, of course, go for Esposito. I think it's pronounced Esposito. We're going to go with it. We're going to firm it. Obviously, we saw with the FPL Shadden data that Inter have some of the best projected goals for this game week. And I feel like he's a guy that they definitely would start up top. Obviously, a big, I think it was a 10-pointer in the last game. Yeah, no, a 9-pointer against Union. He also played a full 90 against Ajax as well. This game against Almaty does just feel like a game he definitely would, of course, line up against in. Rafinha as well, we saw with the good fixtures that they've actually got coming up. Bruges, Chelsea, Frankfurt, Slavia Prague, and Copenhagen. Definitely feels like a player that I would really like to get into the side. I'm hoping that he maybe features against Elche. If he does, he definitely does enter the conversation for forwards. But we do have Yamal there if not. In terms of the rest of the team, I'm pretty happy with everybody else, so there isn't kind of any big kind of other moves I potentially would make. There is another option that I have gone for, so let me talk you through this one as well. This would, of course, be looking to downgrade Rashford again. Looking to go for Esposito from Inter to obviously, you know, combat that great fixture that they've got. And then go for Anthony Gordon and Ansu Fati. Both penalty takers, so of course, you know, that fits my remit that I look for in terms of players. They've got those multiple avenues to points. The only concern I do have with Ansu Fati is his minutes are a little bit shaky. As you can see here, 70, 64, and 27. They are a little bit shaky, and when you look at Monaco as well on FOTMob, his kind of minutes are around that 60, 70 minute mark. I would prefer a player that, of course, does play 90 minutes. However, with the next three fixtures, Boda, Paphos, and Galatasaray, he could be a real nice gem at that 6.5 million price tag. Of course, as well, Yildiz is another player that I have looked for from Juventus. However, he did miss their game against Cremonese at the weekend, so it probably kind of kills him as a potential option. Unless, of course, we do get some, you know, positive injury news around him. Again, Juve have got some really, really nice fixtures, and I probably would like to take full advantage of that one. Like I said, the other player is going to be Anthony Gordon. His Premier League form is pants. However, his Champions League form, as you can see here, 14, 13, and a 7, with Bilbao, Marseille, Leverkusen, and PSV as his next 4 games. Definitely feels like very winnable games for him and Newcastle United to give themselves a very, very strong chance of course, progressing to the next round of this competition and not have to go through the kind of, you know, next qualifying round. They can just get themselves straight into the quarterfinals. It feels like they'll be looking at these fixtures and really trying to take them seriously. And of course, a guy who has been doing exceptionally well for them in the Champions League is Anthony Gordon. So these are the potential moves that I have lined up. This one would be for a -4. I'm always up for taking minuses in this game. It's such a kind of, you know, short format game that maybe just taking some hits and taking some minuses definitely can work itself out over the course of the season. But those are my 2 options right now. They could very easily change ahead of the deadline. So of course, make sure you are, you know, following me on Twitter. So when I do post my side, you will be able to see it and kind of look at the other players I am, of course, considering as well. But that right now for me is my 2 set of transfer plans. That is where my head is at. Let me know what you think of either plan. Would you go for A or would you go for B with the -4? Of course, any questions you've got about your team as well, get them in the comments as we'll try to help out as best as we can. And like I said, the best of luck for match day 4.